Good afternoon, folks, and welcome to the Pervasive Media Studio Lunchtime Talk. These talks are live every Friday at 1 p.m, both here in the building and live online. Hi, if you're watching us online. So whether you're in Bristol or you're far away, you can join in the conversation. So my name is Martin O'Leary. I'm the head of studio here at the Pervasive Media Studio. I'm a white man in my 40s, long hair and a beard, wearing a sort of floaty purple long-sleeve t-shirt today. Every Friday, we throw open the doors of the Pervasive Media Studio for Open Studio Friday, where we offer you the chance to spend some time in our space by hot desking alongside our residents and staff from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Especially big welcome to anyone who's new to the studio. Can anyone who's new to the studio put your hand up? Okay, quite a few today. Welcome. This bit is for you. What is the Pervasive Media Studio? We're a diverse and collaborative community exploring creativity and technology, everything from comedy to coding and product development to performance art. And we're a partnership between Watershed, where we are right now, UE Bristol and the University of Bristol, and we're funded by Arts Council England. And what we do is we offer a studio space, including desks, meeting rooms, events and opportunities, all for free to our residents as part of a spirit of generosity and mutual exchange. And most of all, we're a space for people to take risks with embryonic ideas and to make some time for collaboration. So just a few notes before we begin. Please do feel free to move around. There is a kitchen back there. You can grab a cup of tea or coffee or a glass of water. We have a quiet space just next to this space. So to my left, your right, just around the corner there, there's a little room with some sofas and beanbags. So if you need to take a break at any point, please do feel free to pop in there. It's reasonably well soundproofed. It's not too noisy in the studio today. Fire exits. If you hear a fire alarm, that is probably real. We're not planning a drill. So the fire exits are at either end of the studio on the other side. So again, my left, your right. But in any event, the studio team will direct you towards them. And there are accessible toilets and baby change over there in the corridor just next to the kitchen. There'll be a Q&A at the end of this talk. So those of you who are watching online, please pop your questions into the YouTube chat. Lautim is here. He will be your voice in the room today. If you're in the building, please raise your hand and we'll send around a microphone so that the folks at home can hear what you're saying. You can get news on all of our future talks by heading to watershed.co.uk/studio, at Pervasive Media Studio, at mastodon.social on Mastodon, at pmstudiouk.bsky.social on Blue Sky, or at Pervasive Media Studio on Instagram. All right, our speaker for today is Oma Keeling. Oma is an artist, creative producer, and the editor-in-chief of Container, an experimental digital magazine run out of the studio, which tells human stories about creative technology from underrepresented voices and angles. As its 5-year publishing run comes to a close, Oma is going to present extracts from the magazine's deep well of work in a collage talk that embodies its founding idea, the carrier bag. So please join me in giving a very warm welcome to Oma.
Hi. So I wrote a talk in here. I cut it up, and I'm going to take things out of this bag. We might mix it up. I might ask someone else to take stuff out of the bag, but I'll take stuff out of the bag. The talk is about what Martin said. I wrote it alongside. I also took extracts from. I took extracts from Container articles, some of which are shown in some form. Their title, at least here, with the collages. Yep. And some of it comes from websites that I randomly. I used a website. I use a thing called moonjump.app to randomly go to a bunch of websites and took, like, it kind of just jumps from website to website randomly, and took text from there that might be relevant. So that explains what's going to happen right now. Okay. If you want a volunteer-based project, pay, and pay well. The name and ethos of the magazine is inspired by Ursula LeGuin's essay, The Carrier Bag, Theory of Fiction, in which he tells the story of the container, the most humble and the most useful, and quite possibly the first thing the human race invented. We held 3 open calls in my time of editing, 2 themed ones themed around DIY solutions and sustainable infrastructure. I am happy with my work as editor. I have a seriously negative view of creative technology and the way it has been used to lead the world toward a stage of insurgent fascism. Yeah, less funny, that one. A video game like Final Fantasy has had a bigger impact on my education than my political party, because that kind of structured left-wing political party no longer existed in Italy when I started to deal with politics, and I had to get my political education from pop culture. And this potential can't be left in the hands of the few companies that control the market. It is inspired partially by Ursula Le Guin's carry-back theory of fiction. We just raised $180 million in Series C funding, bringing our total funding to $240 million, a valuation to $2.5 billion. This round is led by Axel with support from Meritech, Redpoint, Aventech, and Visionaires Club, corporate investors N Ventures, NVIDIA's venture capital arm, and T.Capital also joined the round, with previous backers including Felicis Ventures, Sequoia, Highland Europe, and HV Capital making follow-on investments as well. That's not true about the magazine. According to Mousy, in the past, crews at Makoko had caught as much as 120 kilograms of fish per day, but they found it difficult today to catch even 40 kilos, with fish fleeing the local area. To better meet the diverse needs of professionals and to ensure the service's sustainability and future improvements, we're introducing the Pro Plan. From now on, some features will require you to sign in and subscribe to the Pro Plan. While striving for a world where everyone's an expert might not be feasible or even ideal, more awareness is never a bad thing. Public awareness is an important tool in lobbying for policy change and drafting democratic solutions. Oops. People have different styles of writing. Accommodate edits to each style rather than having a house style. Container has collaborated with Control Shift Festival, Queer Tech Bristol, and Bristol and Bath Tech Festivals. I would like to thank everyone involved in the project. Copyright is bad, despite its use in lawsuits to restrict generative AI. Copyright is itself a theft from communal ownership. All books, movies, and other art should be free to experience, adapt, and remix. I believe in piracy. I believe in the radical sharing of culture beyond the limits that put on us by capital. Across the board, multiply marginalized performers said social media allowed them to reach and form networks that weren't previously available. These networks allow for a sharing of ideas which facilitates artist development that is harder to do in isolation. However, it's clear that for many, social media is a poison chalice when it comes to developing their craft as artists. Your images are processed securely, never shared with third parties, and automatically deleted from our servers after 24 hours to protect your privacy. Container went from publishing in an issue-based format to a continuous schedule of content in 2022. Sometimes work takes about a year to be submitted to you. Sometimes people don't respond for months. Threads, 1984, the infamously harrowing made-for-TV movie, asks a simple, bleak question: how would conservative Britain deal with a nuclear apocalypse? The answer it gives is equally simple: it wouldn't. Mindy Sue uses the term gathering to describe her meticulous collection of user-submitted resources for the Cyberfeminism Index, citing Ursula LeGuin and the idea of methodical deep labor that comes from looking around rather than looking ahead, from gathering rather than hunting. Who wants to go?
You'd like to read it?
Sure, unless you want to read it.
No, that's all right.
Cool. The aim of the publication is to provide a platform for underheard voices and stories in creative technology. Every second, 84 million HTTP requests are hitting Cloudflare across our fleet of data centers in 330 cities. Adopting an institution-independent archiving approach to new media does not by itself ensure that, for example, private information will not be misused or that history will not be misrepresented. In an age of extreme surveillance, we need to approach our archiving and curation practices with this in mind. Clojure is not a scripting language. Clojure compiles directly to JVM bytecode and thus runs at native speed. Thus, one must think of Clojure as a true alternative to Java, the language, but more expressive, flexible, and powerful. All right. People tell me they are sad this project is ending. However, I think that changes it aspires to are ones that rely on the collective action of many people on a volunteer basis acting for their community and loved ones, and taking ownership of resources, communication, and aid networks. If you look at what the right wing has, it is ownership of these same things, but on the scale of corporations. This is why they have power. Unless able to grow, this project, as is, only has strength in the determination of its ideas and its ability to pay people. That is the material. I believe that much more can be done outside of the constraints of a single part-time employee-led publishing project tied to a multi-million-pound business-oriented tech investment program. That one is about Container. Container had an advisory board and a steering board. That's people who are in-house to aid with and talk about the project, and a team of outside experts in various different aspects of tech, inclusion, publishing, hired to chat about their work and learnings useful to Container. I also wrote 3 editorials about visiting immersive artworks and festivals, my experiences and thoughts on them. I aimed to work other jobs in that time, the other 2 days, but honestly I didn't, so now I am still poor. The threat of terrorism, transnational crime, or human smuggling are often used as the justification for the growing panopticon of migration management technologies, says Petra Molnar, Associate Director of the Refugee Law Lab at York University in Toronto, Canada, and a lawyer specializing in migration and technology. These assertions bear little relationship to the reality on the ground. Everyone spoken to for this article said that the business models remained unclear. I came into this job from writing and editing for content farms for video games. These are sites that will pay maybe $20 per 1,000-word article that will require several hours of research and, of course, the writing itself. $20 a day is not much at all. That one's about me. The notion of pioneering is repeated ad nauseum across media materials, operations, overviews, and leadership biographies. A world-class team of visionaries with deep experience and expertise pioneering stratospheric exploration and flight. If science fiction is a mythology of modern technology, then its myth is tragic. Technology, or modern science, using the words as they are usually used in an unexamined shorthand standing for the hard sciences and high technology founded upon continuous economic growth, is a heroic undertaking, Herculean, Promethean, conceived as triumph, hence ultimately as tragedy. The fiction embodying this myth will be and has been triumphant. Man conquers Earth, space, aliens, death, the future, etc., and tragic. Apocalypse, Holocaust, then or now. If, however, one avoids the linear, progressive, times-killing arrow mode of the techno-heroic and redefines technology and science as primarily cultural carrier bag rather than weapon of domination, one pleasant side effect is that science fiction can be seen as a far less rigid, narrow field, not necessarily Promethean or apocalyptic at all, and in fact less a mythological genre than a realistic one. It is a strange realism, but it is a strange reality. This setup is great on paper. In practice, it can feel a bit disconnected and lonely-making in the day-to-day, though having a less outgoing personality could be the main contributor there. The container is the bag you put things in because they are useful, edible, or beautiful, and because you want to share them with your community. It signifies what it is to be collectively human, expansive, communal, representational, and more about process than destination. We've heard about all the sticks and spears and swords, the things to bash and poke and hit with, the long hard things, but we have not heard about the thing to put things in, the container for the thing contained. That is a news story. That is news. I got two there. I worked, I would say, 75% remote on this job. Slime molds have been shown to be able to find the shortest path through a maze or the most optimal distribution of nutrients across different food sources. But some tech developments have continued along the same unsettling lines that Plant identified. Female AIs, Alexa, Siri, Cortana, and co., at various times programmed to be coy and submissive. Border agencies extracting data from asylum seekers. Period tracking apps feared to be leaking data to authorities that have banned abortion, and computer science is still dominated by cis white men to the disadvantage of everyone else. Grassroots, community, and smaller scale productions are vital to a healthy cultural infrastructure. Racism, xenophobia, transphobia, all of these have flourished thanks to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, renamed, rebranded, or not. The richest people in the world have gotten rich off of building machines where communicating hatred can earn you money, instead of moderating against it. They took the success of the far-right movements, the early 2010s, on sites like 4chan and Reddit and turned it into a business model, with clear intent to spread right-wing politics. Documenting and curating photos of removed graffiti since 2012 on Instagram. When we talk about creative technology, often we're talking about forms of social media. It was my intent to treat these technologies as inherently hostile, not because of their functionality, but because of their ownership in politics. The Linux Foundation, one of the key institutions in the OSS world, has a branch dedicated to developing open software solutions for the energy sector. Among its members are Shell, Google, and Microsoft. The role of editor is a part-time 3 days of work job. Who wrote this one? At the University of the West of England, I applied for the job not knowing what the words pro rata meant and assuming the salary was going to be higher than it is. That's not to talk down the work done, but rather to be realistic about the aims and who is in a position to effect material change. To look away from projects run by major institutions and towards the communal, local, or digital. I think communal, either locally or digitally. I created many collages for container publication pieces. Some of them are behind me in a slideshow. The name of the piece is in the bottom left hand. Yeah. Container Magazine is a collaboration between several different organizations: UE, University of Bristol, University of Bath, and the Watershed. I wasn't involved in funding this project. Part of this talk was written using the website moonjump.app to jump to random sites on the internet and taking text I thought was interesting from there, as well as mixing in quotes from Container Magazine publications. We know. It was important to update our rates along with the union rates for artists and journalists. Oops, there's nothing here. For gifts that do exist, here's our trending feed. The closest interaction with the living is a goose that attacks my camera. A cooling tower peeks behind the terraced terracotta houses. I ditch the map and follow that coal-fired North Star. I'm really, really tired. In the wrong hands, deepfake technology poses a grave threat. Oppression is felt as the material that makes up people's lives, in what they get to say, do, eat, where they get to live. The meatball shop is incredibly proud of the dishes we serve and the ingredients we make them with. From day one, we've worked to make sure we're sourcing the best local and all-natural ingredients we're able to get our hands on. Anybody want to go? You want to read it? Yeah, sure.
I wrote. Oh.
Yeah, I was gonna.
I wrote talk this on my notes app. I have 6% left on my phone. It is 8:15 the night before, and in about 16 hours and 45 minutes I will start this talk. I wish the site worked better and was faster.
Thanks. Container Magazine is a website. In my mind, the abstract, the semi-fictional, the collaged all have an important part to play in challenging what is often the intentional use of narratives around science to enforce existing power structures. And so work like this is vital. A new account meant a new layer of becoming. Web platforms were a mirror that reflected wavelengths I wasn't developed enough to see for myself. It's cool. The first cultural device was probably a recipient. Many theorizers feel that the earliest cultural inventions must have been a container to hold gathered products and some kind of sling or net carrier. So says Elizabeth Fisher in Women's Creation, McGraw-Hill, 1975. But no, this cannot be. Where is that wonderful, big, long, hard thing, a bone? I believe that the ape man first bashed somebody in the movie and then, grunting with ecstasy at having achieved the first proper murder, flung up into the sky, and whirling there it became a spaceship, thrusting its way into the cosmos to fertilize it. The cultural sector is stuck in event overkill. Openings, symposiums, workshops, artist talks, and conferences follow each other in rapid succession. Each one puts an even more important matter on the agenda than the previous one. More often than not, these events position themselves as offering a start of something. But what happens when the event is over? Where does all the meaning go? Many contemporary sonic technologies have evolved from or alongside military and policing technologies. I often get shopping deliveries from a large UK supermarket chain, Sainsbury's. They email me a PDF with a summary listing all the items and the stuff that's missing. I print that out and tick off the items that have arrived. Financial administration is difficult, and thank you to all of the people who have helped me with that part. As Danielle says, talking to Container after the event, her research and work in digital presentations like blacktransarchive.com developed as a need to see the people around her in our archival records. I was trying to find representation of the people that were existing around me, black trans people, in the archive, and I couldn't find any. I turned down many pitches about AI. The reality of cloud computing is the antithesis of its namesake. It is miles and miles of anonymous grey buildings holding data centers with carbon cost of some small countries. It is underpaid workers. It is environmental damage. I got a chair to sit down. Oh. It's kind of annoying standing up. Tendencies as displayed across other... Start again. Our tendencies, as displayed across other communications technologies, are those we display on the computer too. Put these down here. The sheer amount of data to run current technologies has meant a field relying on data collected unethically. I don't care about AI stuff. I first gave a talk here about sex in video games. I had made a documentary for Container magazine about sex in video games. It will be part of the retrospective tonight if you want to see that kind of thing. It is also on YouTube, but if you're a child, you can't see it, because I say so. My favorite collage artists are Hannah Hawk, Claude Cahun, and Kurt Schwitters, currently. They are all dead, and all fled or were branded degenerate by the Nazis. I have made very good friends from working on Container magazine. Proponents of legibility often describe their processes as efficiency measures or ways to avoid waste, but overall the new efficient forests were in fact far less efficient than the old illegible forests. Free Palestine, and all colonial occupation. Other pitches were accepted via random emails, seeking out specific artists to work with, and as conclusion publications for a couple of other My World projects. Okay. Does anyone want to come up and pick one out?
I'll do it.
You go. Thank you. Regulatory capture, when a company suborns its regulator and teams up with it to screw over customers, rivals, and suppliers, starts with a regulator that is weaker than the company it is supposed to be watchdogging. Digital magazines exist. They often charge a subscription fee for access to their content. LeGuin speaks about the story of the container, a human technology, being more important than that of conflict, the killing story that we've all become trapped in. I think in that way, when it comes to our technologies, the story of the human is that which is more important than that of money, which is another killing story. Are you a person in relationship with all of those around you, or are you money? Are you here to defend the product or support the person? We have published artists and authors across the world in a bunch of countries. If you are the editor of Container, you will delete around 10 spam emails a day. Editing is about reading it and going, this could read better, flow well, be less confusing. Unless the intent is to be confusing, disjointed, and atypical, in which case editing is easy. Your gut feeling is okay to listen to. If you are volunteer-based, make sure it's stuff you and people want, and have fun. I want to make an archive site so that our work on Container is still available to educate and share for years, decades, and centuries to come. Simply opting out of the systems I felt complicit in making games hasn't been enough for me. Instead, it's been a starting point towards challenging those systems alongside other people. Making games and existing in online communities has, over the years, allowed me to meet people I now consider close friends and accomplices. These days, I feel lucky to stand alongside them, many of them on physical picket lines in local anti-raid groups and mutual aid networks, resisting in the ways we can. It doesn't matter if people don't write a U in color or any other Americanized or global forms of English. It's actually fine. No one cares. Fact-checking is important unless you are writing fiction. So how do I engage with developing technologies in ways that are meaningful and enjoyable to me? Is it possible to break down the exclusivity of tech talk and to get beyond the buzzwords and jargon? A divided digital age, a fractured online world. Container magazine first published in November 2020. Our rates as of closing are £330 for 1,000 words. If it is human to do something, if it is a human thing to do to put something you want because it is useful, edible, or beautiful into a bag or a basket or a bit of rolled bark or leaf or a net woven of your own hair or what have you, and then take it home with you, home being another larger kind of pouch or bag, a container for people, and then later on you take it out and you eat it or share it or store it up for winter in a solider container, or put it in the medicine bundle, or the shrine, or the museum, the holy place, the area that contains what is sacred. And then the next day you probably do much the same again. If to do that is human, if that is what it takes, then I am a human being after all. The work that people have done has often exceeded my expectations and abilities, and I am so happy to have been able to support it. Emotions can have a powerful impact on our lives, and yet it can be surprisingly difficult to articulate exactly what we are feeling. In 2020, the World Health Organization enlisted a fake human to help place accurate, vetted information about COVID-19 in front of millennials and Generation Z. They sponsored Knox Frost, a digital rendering of a 20-year-old guy from Atlanta, to make several posts about life in quarantine. Set up in November 2020, it focuses on process over product and collectivity and community over the successful individual, big tech, and corporate greed. Oh, getting to the bottom here. I took on this role with commissions that were ongoing and then started to plan for the first open call. The first editor was Alice Quigley. And that's the end of the bag and the end of the talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Oma. Does anyone have any questions on that? Oh, we got one. Oh.
Cheers and well done. I'd like to know what your favourite Final Fantasy game is and what your number one lesson is from that game.
Oh, okay. I think my favorite Final Fantasy game is Final Fantasy 13 Lightning Returns. And the lesson I learned from it is that it's pretty hard to kill monsters. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't write that extract about Final Fantasy, but that's from an article about a festival, an alternative festival for video games. It's probably it's from an article called Building a Different Kind of Video Game Festival, and it's about a collective in Italy who work to make a community organized and supported kind of traveling games festival that like rocks up at kind of community centers and hostels and things, and kind of just sets out all the laptops and stuff outside with a marquee and everything, which is very cool. So yeah, that came from there.
Any other questions from the audience?
It's fine if you don't have any questions.
Yeah. Oh.
I shipped one in. In terms of Container, the magazine, and your time in it, how do you see it as successful, and where might you have wanted it to be more successful than it actually was?
I see it as successful in that we paid people to make experimental work about the exact remit of what the magazine is about underheard or undertold, ideas in creative technology, and that's often being, either identity related or material condition related, to people's own experiences or to the wider experiences in the world of marginalized people. And I think it's been successful in doing that and giving people an actual, I think an actual rate, an actual proper rate for freelance work. I mean, I just wish I wish it could be so much bigger and so and kind of that something that this kind of thing, it does exist. It exists kind of disparately, well, not disparate. It exists across the kind of blogs and the internet as it exists. It does exist. It's that I think I just I guess I wish it was more tapped in, more tapped into the actual the kind of conversations that happen daily, which aren't really conversations at all. They're things we have to think about because someone with $1 billion tells us to think about it. We actually want to think about what we want for dinner and how to whatever. But so yeah, I wish I could change. I wish we all could change the world and make it better. And I think we did a little. We did a little something, but yeah.
Anybody else got a question?
Bit of a cheesy one, but what's been your kind of standout memory or experience from being editor at Container?
Standout memory has. I don't know what I'm trying to think about what that means to me, that phrase, but standout memory is deleting spam. That's what stands out in my mind is every day. It's new emails on my phone about nothing. But what a really cool things I think has been the workshops that we were able to kind of host through Container and help kind of just being there. We ran a couple of workshops with Queer Tech Bristol, bringing in and giving artists the chance to have a group of people to experience their work and talk through things. It was just a lot of fun, and I like that. And I really like making these collages as well, and other images, because I like doing that. as a hobby anyway.
Anybody else got a question?
Just a follow-up, can you just say a bit more about what you like about collage?
What I like about collage, I think it's it's a very intuitive art form. I mean, it just relies on your intuition and you're just. I mean, all art, does, but collage materially, the process is. Here's a bunch of stuff. Where does it go? I don't know. Where does it go? And you can make that random. You can do that. And I think you end up with results that are always interesting to me and always kind of. I think that kind of it has this kind of. There's a lot of craft. A lot of professionalism comes into talking about craft and art and things like that, and it's more like, and a lot of that's business minded, at least right now, and I think that collage can be a very. I mean, it's obviously not fully nothing is like fully detached from being business minded, but a collage kind of is like. You make a product and you can look at it and go, what is the inherent worth of this? There's like, well, I just like it, or you can use it, I don't know. It's a great art form. I love it a lot. There's so many ways that it's kind of been used radically that I think is important. It has an important history, I think.
Any other questions for the audience? Yeah.
Thank you for your talk. I loved the delivery of it. You mentioned that a little phrase that was when an event is over, where does the meaning go? And I was wondering where you want the meaning of Container Magazine and the carrier bag theory, where you want it to go.
I want it to go far. I want it to be still available. The funding ends the end of this year or so, and currently it's kind of a website that exists and is kind of live and is live updated and such. And I want it to be archived, as I kind of said. Finally, and hope because. And it's interesting because the internet seems like a real fickle thing that for its like ability to stay at the minute, at least in kind of how I don't know where the Watershed website is hosted or where I think Container is hosted on WordPress at the minute, so it's like how long is WordPress going to be around for until it blows up in some kind of I don't know. Financial mismanagement. So it's a like interesting question, but I hope that it stays with people. The experience of working with it and reading it. I just hope it stays with people. Yeah, that was an interesting quote because it kind of. I resonate with it because I think a lot of things, about there's a lot of artist events and a lot of artist learning and a lot of learning that we're all doing all the time. We're all learning all the time, and where does that go? But it was funny that came from a pitch deck for an AI generated kind of thing that kind of just concludes all your text into a document at the end of if you've got text left over from a talk or whatever. Into a document, kind of. So it was itself a business. It was kind of business pitch. It was a funny kind of website.
Anyone else last talk? Last questions? If not, then I think we shall say thank you again to Oma.
Thank you all of you.
Before you all go, please don't forget that tonight from 5 p.m. we have a retrospective of Containers' work here in the studio. Bring a drink, bring your friends, join us in celebrating some of the amazing work that's come out of Container. Before that, if you do want to stick around in Hot Desk today or find out more about what we do, then please come find one of the studio team. We'll be happy to help. Studio team, give us a wave. Here we are. If you're watching online, drop us a line on studio@watershed.co.uk with any questions. Thank you all for being here today, and we'll see you again next time.